How to provide gold standard customer service, featuring Lisa Ford. Competition has never been more intense. How can your organization gain a competitive marketplace edge? One way is to win the customer service battle. Lisa Ford says that providing gold standard customer service will not only provide a competitive edge, but it can also greatly increase corporate profitability. Lisa Ford is a specialist in advising companies about how to best serve and retain customers. Her best-selling audio, video, CD-ROM, and DVD training programs have generated in excess of $40 million in revenues. Let's tune in as Lisa Ford talks about how to provide gold standard customer service.
Providing gold standard customer service. Providing gold standard customer service means delivering exceptional customer service every time with every customer. Keep in mind, our purpose as an organization is to sell and service the customer. In this session, we will look at what works and what doesn't work when it comes to customer service. We'll look at the research that convinces us customer service should be a priority, as well as how to define the gold standard, which include 5 rules. Let's start with what doesn't work when it comes to customer service. I want to read something to you that was given to me by some individuals out of New York City. They had read this in the newspaper. It's a weekly column called the Metropolitan Diary. This is where readers write in about funny things they've seen going on in the city. Here's what Dorothy Klein wrote in. Dear Diary, the scene was one of the larger post offices in Brooklyn, where a long line of customers was not so patiently waiting. There was one window open. The wait seemed interminable. All at once, 5 postal workers appeared, carrying a ladder, balloons, and a banner that read, Customer Appreciation Week. Slowly, the workers proceeded to hang the banner. The customer line, meanwhile, barely moved. A man online pointed out to the manager that while 5 workers were hanging a customer appreciation banner, people had been waiting for more than half an hour because there was only one person working at a window. Didn't the manager see any inconsistency? Oh, that, she replied, that doesn't start until next week. Have you experienced this? As a customer, we certainly have. And as a company, we might have tried it. Have you ever tried using a slogan like, this is the year of the customer, or Customer Appreciation Week? And then we think all employees' behavior will just be magically transformed. Well, we know it's not that simple. You have the right attitude about customer service. Does your action and behavior match your attitude? I challenge you to develop the right attitude to provide the gold standard service, and then take your attitude and translate it into action on a daily basis. First, I want to define the word customer. Who is your customer? Now, all of us immediately think of that final, external, bill-paying, true customer. That is our customer. However, some of you involved here, as well as some of those you work with, may have limited real contact with the customer. So you need to define who is it you serve. My guess is you may be serving someone internal to the organization. And if you did not serve them well and provide gold standard service, then that individual could not serve the external, true customer. Your role in managing people in service delivery is extremely important. Let's turn to the research that's very convincing of why customer service and customer loyalty must be one of our very top goals. Well, here's some interesting research. There was research asking customers, what's the reason that causes you to switch to the competition? Customers said the number one reason, by 40%, was poor service. 8% said they switched because of cost, because of price. That means service is 5 times more important than cost. Now, out of that same research, customers were asked, okay, so poor service caused you to switch to the competition. What about the poor service bothered you? 68% said, I just had this feeling of indifference. It was like no one cared, the employee or the organization. You've all experienced it. You're shaking your heads. Now, there's also research that tells us it costs 8 times as much to attract a new customer as it does to keep a current customer. An interesting book written by Frederick Reichheld, the book is titled The Loyalty Effect, even tells us this. If you can keep 5% more of your existing customers, that can boost profits by almost 25 to 125%, depending on the type of business you're in. Think about that for a moment. Just by keeping 5% more of your existing customers, that sounds pretty easy. Now, his research also said, if you can keep just 2% more of your existing customers, that has the same effects on profits as cutting cost by 10%. Most companies' efforts focus on only attracting customers, not on retaining them. Doesn't it sound easy to keep 5% more of your customers? Think of what that could do to your organization's performance. To keep customers, you must provide the gold standard service that leads to a totally satisfied customer. Now, I said totally satisfied customer. Here's why. There's been research done with surveys. Now, have all of you filled out many surveys, people asking you to judge the quality of their service? You've done this. Okay. Well, here's what research tells us. That customers who fill out surveys and say they're satisfied, 60 to 80% of them say they're satisfied just prior to defecting, just prior to taking their business elsewhere. So that means if we're only satisfied, that's not enough. We have to create a totally satisfied customer if we're going to impact the bottom line. I believe a satisfied customer is up for grabs, and I don't want someone else grabbing your satisfied customers. So with that research and statistics, are you convinced about why customer service is so important? See, many people can easily agree with delivering great customer service. We understand it. We agree with the statistics. But here's what I find interesting. There aren't a lot of organizations providing the gold standard customer service. Do you believe that? Here's what I see. When I'm a customer, I experience one of these levels of customer service. There are 3. Number 1, rude. Number 2, indifference. And number 3, exceptional. My question to you, when you're a customer, which one do you experience most? Rude, indifference, or exceptional?
Indifference.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's mostly indifference. It's people who act as if they could care less to pick up a phone, to wait on me, to serve me. Have you been someplace before, literally with money in your hands, trying your best to give it to someone, and they know you're there? They can see you, but they were doing something else. Okay, they were taking care of their paperwork or filing or organizing something. So at their leisure, when they're ready, they finally look at you and say, "May I help you?" Have you noticed? That's indifference. There's not much meaning to it. Have you heard, "Thank you very much, next"? They don't even mean thank you. It's indifference. I received some indifference not too long ago. I was getting a rental car at an airport. I'd signed all the places I was supposed to sign on the paperwork. The agent was then folding it, putting it in the envelope as she was telling me what space my car was parked in and how to find the rental cars at the airport. As she handed the contract to me, she said, "Thank you, sir." I checked. Of course, she's apologizing profusely, but that told me something about her. Her mind was very far away. She was not focused on me and providing me exceptional service. That's indifference. Now, another example may get a little close to rude, not just indifference. A friend of mine told me of a trip he was taking on the airline. They were serving dinner. He was hungry. The flight attendant turned to him and said, "Sir, are you joining us for dinner?" And he said, "Yes." "What is it?" She said, "Chicken." He said, "Is there a choice?" She responded, "Yes." He said, "Well, what's the choice?" She said, "Eat it or not." Can you believe it? Yeah, wow. That was rude. Well, take a few moments and with someone next to you, discuss an experience of either rude, indifference, or exceptional service. If I can, let me ask you, what is an example of either rude, indifference, or exceptional service? Who has one?
Okay, I've got one. A few months ago, I was on a shopping expedition with my mother, and we were looking for a navy blazer. We were taken into a dressing room and seated, and all the navy blazers were brought to us, along with coffee. We never stood up except to try on the blazer.
That's exceptional service. Thank you. I can't imagine being treated like that. That's rare, and that's the gold standard. Now, I have to ask you, how many people have you told that exceptional story to?
Many, many people.
Exactly. See, when we get great service, we tell it. Now, those of you with a rude or indifferent story, how many people do you tell? Everybody also. It's amazing. Well, let me tell you, research says that when we are satisfied, typically we tell 4 to 5 others. When we are dissatisfied, we tell 9 to 12. We tell twice as many when we're dissatisfied. Now, most service we receive falls into the category of where we get processed and not served. Think about it, you get processed all the time. You go someplace, you stop, you call a place of business, you get exactly what you want, you get exactly what you need, but there was nothing that occurred in the transaction that left you with a positive impression of the person or that place of business. Being processed is not enough in today's world. Customers want to be served. They want to say, wow, they're good. And that's the impression that we need to leave our customers with. Served and totally satisfied, that's the goal. Let's review. We've discussed how attitudes toward customer service must be followed by your action. We've defined the customer, and we looked at the research of why customer service is necessary. And we just discussed the familiar 3 levels of service: rude, indifference, and exceptional. So how do you provide the gold standard? By using these 5 rules of quality customer service. Research conducted asked thousands of customers of all types of business how they define quality customer service. And out of that study came these 5 rules. Number 1, reliability. Reliability simply means be consistent. You don't deserve to be in business if you are not reliable. Your products and your services are reliable. Please make certain your customer service is reliable. Here's a concept to take back to those you work with to define reliability. It's something I call the grandmother rule. Now, I haven't had a grandmother in a lot of years, but you'll understand why it's called the grandmother rule. It goes like this: do what you say you're going to do it when you say you're going to do it, and do it right the first time. You understand why I call it a grandmother rule? Because most of us here were raised with those kind of values of somebody doing their best to make certain we lived like that. So once again, do what you say you're going to do it when you say you're going to do it, and do it right the first time. The second rule is responsiveness. I can simply define this with the word speed or fast. That's what today's customers want. Now, you also need to be responsive to the human side. There's a great example that comes from the Phoenix Fire Department. Now, this is Phoenix, Arizona, in the state of Arizona in the United States. Their mission statement as a fire department is this: prevent harm, survive, and be nice. That be nice surprises you a little bit, doesn't it? Prevent harm and survive, we're not surprised, but be nice. Well, they're called out not just on a lot of fire emergencies, but also medical emergencies. Recently, they were called to a job site where a driveway paving contractor was working on completing a driveway. The man was experiencing a heart attack. They got him attended to very quickly and got him off to a nearby medical facility. The problem is, there was a pile of fresh concrete that he had just poured. There were only 9 yards left to finish this driveway. Here's what the fire department did. They got on the radio, they called some other fire stations, and they said, "We've got a driveway to finish. We have fresh concrete here. Who wants to come help?" And they did. They finished the job. They paved a driveway. These are firemen, but part of their philosophy is be nice. They cleaned his tools, they put him in his truck, they drove his truck to the fire station so the family could come take care of it. That's nice, and that's incredible service. I heard you say, wow. And you're right. They understand the second rule, responsiveness. The third rule is valued. Customers want to feel valued, important. They want to think they're the most important customer that you're dealing with at that moment. Here's an amazing example. It's what a hospital did to change their service delivery after a crucial event with a family member of a patient. Let me walk you through this as it was told to me by Mara Faye Hernandez of New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City. A gentleman whose wife was in the advanced stages of cancer was being treated at their hospital and required some very long extended stays, some up to 3 months. He would stay at a 5-star hotel a few blocks away. All the employees at this 5-star hotel knew the situation. They called him by name. They would pack some room service lunches and dinners, fine food for him to enjoy while he's at the hospital. They even would pack up some goodies to take to his wife. He considered the treatment by the hotel absolutely wonderful, kind, and very personal, which caused him to see the stark contrast between the hotel and the hospital. The hospital was staffed by some of the best doctors in the world, but it didn't have the right ambiance. So after his wife's death, he went to the hospital board and he offered a substantial endowment in his wife's name with the one condition that they make improvements in their customer service. And he suggested it was the hotel, the 5-star hotel, that they should turn to learn from and upgrade their customer service. Of course, they did just that. The hospital staff visited the hotel to experience their gold standard of service. And they made appropriate changes in their departments, such as it's the hospital that now has a doorman that has a luggage cart. And the doorman will put your luggage on the luggage cart and see you to your hospital room. That's a little different. It's the only hospital I know of who does this. Oh, the staff now smiles. They walk visitors to their location. Oh, and the physical surroundings also got an uplift. They believe people can get well faster in beautiful surroundings with smiling, caring people. Wow, that means customer service is medicine. As you review that example, who do you need to learn from? Who is the best in your area? And how can you translate their excellent service back into your environment? Each customer deserves that attention to feel truly valued. The fourth rule is empathy. This one surprised me. Remember, research asking thousands of customers how they define quality customer service, and they say empathy. Customers want to know you understand their situation. And empathy is the skill that will help you really show it. Here's an example from someone at a very large manufacturing firm. The customer called this employee very frustrated. They were angry. This employee picked up the phone, said good morning, and heard, "This is the third time we've had to call to get this error corrected. And every time I call, I'm put on hold. This is ridiculous. And especially with all the business we do with your company. We need to get this straightened out because I will not process payment on this until you can figure out what we've purchased. We know, but you don't seem to." Now the employee needed to respond. Here's what she said. "I know it's frustrating to call us to deal with this billing problem, especially for the third time. I'm glad you reached me so I can get this corrected immediately." Do you hear what she did? She used empathy before she asked those important questions that she needed to ask so that she could solve the problem. Empathy truly is like a bridge skill. The customer wants to hear empathy first before you move to requesting the necessary information. It's a powerful skill. You use it so you can really then bridge the conversation to the solution. And with empathy, you get on the same side as the customer. It's really like you're a partner with them. The last rule, number 5, is competent. Customers define quality customer service as they want us to be competent. They want all those people you work with to be competent. The customer does not want to demand the manager. They want the first person to be the person who can solve their problem. Many organizations call this the one voice concept, where one person takes and owns the customer and his concern. So the customer doesn't get bounced from one person to another. You know how your customers hate to get bounced from one to another. Customer satisfaction increases when their call requires one person and only one contact. Let's go over those 5 rules: reliability, responsiveness, valued, empathy, and competency. Customers expect you to live by those rules. After this, go back with your team and ask them which one of those is their strength and which one is their weakness. Now, I certainly want you to do that for yourself also. And then ask, how does your customer define each of those? So imagine if your customer was sitting across from you and you said, "We want to make certain we are reliable. What do we need to do so that we would be reliable in your eyes?" And hear how the customer would define that. And then incorporate your customer definition into your daily delivery of customer service. Think about how you provide customer service. Does it fit the definition of the gold standard? Does it incorporate the 5 rules? Or do you too often process customers and not really serve them? Go back and create a sense of urgency with those around you by sharing the statistics that we've covered here. Now, I've used a definition of customer service for a lot of years. It goes like this: service is adding people to the product. Anyone can copy your products and services, but they can't copy the people. And I believe the people of your organization will be your differentiator when they provide gold standard customer service skillfully and successfully.